Hey, what is going on? My name is Harvey Lemus, and today I want to talk to you about something so important. And I think that if everyone leverages this idea to their benefit, you'll realize why the things that you didn't expect are actually the things that you need, right? So there was this one time I was on a meeting when I was, partnered with an agency, and one of the clients said that they couldn't afford to spend more money on Facebook because they were getting such a good return on another platform. And one of my friends was like, that worked at the agency, he said, you cannot afford to spend more money on this platform. However, you should milk it down in terms of the ROAS, the return on ad spend. You should milk it down as much as you can, because when you are scaling, when you're trying to get as much money from a campaign, it's not about it's not about the ratio of how much you spend versus how much you get back. It's about how much money you make, how much profit you make, right? And this is a mistake that I realized in this moment that the agency client she was making. She wanted to have the best ratio in terms of like what per dollar, how many dollars she got back out. What she didn't realize is that even though the ratio would have been, if she, instead of trying to like have the best ratio, just try to make the most money, right? And I realized this lesson being on this call, and it really reminded me of just how a lot of people think they can't afford something. However, they just have the wrong outlook on something. And really, what it is your inability to have insight on the things that are good for you, right? And a lot of times, inability doesn't necessarily mean that it's a skill issue. It's more of like an environment issue. So you need to be around people who know better, right? Because if you're around people who know better, don't you think they're going to be able to give you some suggestions when you're on your way, right? When you're on your journey, don't you think that they're going to be able to give their insight that is going to completely change your life? And that's what happened in this moment. This client thought they couldn't afford spending money. And, my friend was just like, no, you need to spend more money. Like, you stop trying to be cheap. Stop trying to minimize the amount of, how much money you spend. You should be trying to maximize the amount of money you're making. And this is going to lead you to more growth. I realized this on this call. And you probably had that same experience where you see maybe the returns aren't coming in, or maybe something's slowing down, right? Maybe you have a lead source and it's not producing as it once was, or your money is your cash flow isn't isn't as high as it used to be, and it's slowing down, and you feel like you should cut back and you should stop. However, that is the exact opposite that we should do. When you are in times of crisis, you should be looking to double down on the areas that are working and the areas that are crushing it, not trying to slow down, right? And this is what a lot of people do. When people backs are against the wall, they try to conserve and they try to stay in the shell. Versus the people who really crush it, they're the ones who are trying to take the best calculated risk as possible. Calculated risk, emphasis on the word calculated. But this is what the people at the top, this is what they know, right? They know that when the streets are bloody, right, you want to be greedy, and when others are greedy, right, you want to be a little bit more conservative. I don't know if I use that analogy correctly, but you want to maximize, right? Stop trying to play defense and play offense, right? Do more instead of trying to conserve, right? And if you're in a position where you're like, oh, I can't afford to run ads, right, or I can't afford to invest more into marketing, or I can't afford to invest more time, or whatever it is, you probably had an experience that when you did invest, it burned you, and then you started to believe that the more you invest, the odds are that you're going to get screwed over at the end. And that is just like the furthest thing from the truth, because the people who think the ones that think they can't afford it are the ones who actually are in the best position to afford it. Because dude, you're going to be small. If you stay small, if you keep thinking small, you're going to stay small. So you got to be able to look at what's working, just double down and figure out a way to afford it. Because if you know something's working, double down, like go for it, right? What's the point of like trying to maximize, just the point of trying to like, trying to like just like get the most that you can out of it while doing the least for it, right? Like you want to like go all in, go harder on it, and just cut the things that aren't working, right? So yeah, I don't know. It was just a cool little lesson that I learned from just being on a call. I mentioned on this video, you want to be around a better environment, and this was a position where I was in a great environment to learn a lesson that it changed my life forever. So hopefully you got a little value from this, and I think it was helpful because it taught me like double down on the things that are working and just like stop doing things that don't work, right? Which a lot of people, it's common sense, but it's not common knowledge. So it's just like a lot of people just don't do that. So hopefully you enjoy this one, and I'll see you in the next one.